Now, this is what is happening on the streets of Russia right now. Tens of thousands of people are taking to the streets to join some of the largest rallies against President Vladimir Putin in years. In Moscow, at least 3,000 people, have been detained in a police crackdown. Riot police have been seen beating and dragging away protesters as Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny calls for demonstrations following his arrest last week. Navalny is known as Putin's most high-profile critic, and he was recovering in Germany from a near-fatal poison attack against him in Russia last August until last week. Well, on Sunday, he flew home to Russia for the first time and was immediately detained and found guilty of violating parole conditions. He says it's just a political move to silence him. And since then, demonstrations have been held in around 100 different Russian cities against the Kremlin. Well, we have journalist David Frankel, reporter from Media Zone, joining us from St. Petersburg. So, David, you were actually at one of these protests yesterday and you were detained by police. Tell us what happened there.
I arrived a bit earlier to the place where the protest should have took place, and I was detained by police. They gathered a small group of journalists, started checking our documents, and once they realized I'm from Media Zone, I was detained. I was brought 40 kilometers away from St. Petersburg to a police station. I was held there for several hours just to make sure that I won't be able to get back to the place where the protests take place. Once they detained me, there was no excuse at all. They explained nothing to me, just that I'm from Media Zone. That's why I should go to the police bus. But once I was delivered to the police station, they explained to me that they had some questions about my documents, my journalist documents, and they have to check them. And once they check them, everything seems fine. I can be free, but actually they still held me for like 2 more hours. And of course, there is no explanation why my documents had to be checked 40 kilometers away from St. Petersburg.
Now, we're seeing massive protests on the streets of Russia. What are protesters the most angry about? What do they want from the Russian government?
I think there are different explanations. Mostly it's corruption, it's poverty, lack of change of power. So Putin is in charge of everything for more than 20 years. And even I think many of his usual supporters started saying things like, we like Putin, but 20 years is a lot. I think a lot of people started to eager for change. Things were quite stable for some time in Russia in economics terms and political terms, but people are enough of that. And economic crisis in Russia is going on. So I think that piled up.
Now, how instrumental has opposition leader Alexei Navalny truly been in these mass demonstrations? Is he really, the straw that's breaking the camel's back here?
I would say that it mostly piled up, and a lot of people who protested are maybe not really fond of Navalny, or they are not his greatest supporters. But after the recent events, after his poisoning, after his return, he definitely stated himself as their main opposition leader and the main alternative to Mr. Putin. And I think it's quite accepted by people all over Russia right now. So even if you don't like Navalny, but you still eager for change, you take part in this protest and you try to support, you are against his detention, you're against his arrest. So there are a lot of reasons, but of course it fired because of him.